Okay, good morning, everyone. Real pleasure, as Beverly mentioned, to be here on stage, finally in front of real humans after such a pandemic period, working from a home office and from my kitchen. And just to be clear, I'm not sharing the same kitchen as Beverly, just to be very open with you. I'm Patrice, I'm working for AudioCodes, and I like to talk a bit more about voice integration. So let's get a bit out of the chatbot. You are all specialists about chatbot. The question is how to, I would say, give an added value on top of your chatbot development for voice. And why am I speaking about voice? Maybe things that you know already, but you have to consider that within a contact center space, within a customer experience, voice remains the king communication platform. That means that 85% of customers today within the interaction are still discussing with voice within a contact center and prefer the voice segment. 81% of companies want to enable transfer to voice in their digital channels. So that means that everyone that is starting to implement a text bot, implementing a WhatsApp, a digital interaction, at a stage, there is a need for companies to enable the transfer from this digital, I would say, text level towards a voice level. And 80% of companies are using voice applications, voice cognitive services that are coming, such as voice biometrics, for example. We are discussing more and more with insurance and banks that are willing to implement emotion detection within the language. So a lot of new cognitive services that are coming on the market. And very briefly, just to give you an overview about something you know already, so I'm not bringing any added value right now, is that about virtual assistant and chatbot, the top growth area for planned by the company for 2021 and 2022 still remains in these virtual assistants. And before going to the voicebot use case, I think that everyone knows already that the main use case is to replace what we call the legacy DTMF IVR, okay? So you have all experienced, I assume once in your life, calling a contact center, having a very cold lady or cold voice saying, press on 1, press on 2, press on 3. Finally, you are getting to a menu where you do not find the information for what you are calling for. And finally, you are put in a queue for 20 minutes. With a nice fancy electronic music that you like, okay, the first one of Beethoven, surely. And afterwards, you are sending back to a contact center agent where you have to repeat exactly the same stuff that you passed your time 6 times to push on 1, push on 2, because the information was not transferred, okay? So the idea here for voice bot integration, sorry, I'm folding, is to replace finally this bad customer experience. So it's improve the customer journey. It's a superb user experience and it's really easy to build to replace the legacy IVR. Everyone is convinced, I assume, about this first topic and use case for the voice bot. The second one is to go a step further. It's about virtual assistant. How can I today, with voicebot automation, offload the contact center agent from repetitive tasks? Okay, opening an account, closing an account, enrollment by credit card. These are all stuff that could be fully automated. You know that in a contact center, it's quite difficult. The turnover is quite fast, so it's difficult to keep people in the contact center space. So if you get rid of all these simple tasks and automate by a bot, typically, you can put the contact center agent to provide more added value services or treat more complex tasks, okay? I will not hide you the fact that, of course, the goal of the contact center person and companies is, of course, to reduce the service cost by providing a better answering, okay? Something people are not thinking about usually, it's about agent assist. What agent assist for a voice bot? It's a bot that will finally listen silently the conversation between the customer and the agent, and that will provide real-time insights towards the agents. So that means that, you know, that training a contact center agent involves a lot of efforts. There is the supervision that is required. Then here the goal is for the bot to be connected to all the backend system. And by listening the conversation, if the customer is asking for extension for the loan, provide on the desktop of the contact center agent the question and the next question that needs to be raised. So as such, you are improving, of course, the agent productivity. You have a better and quicker query resolution and real-time notification to the supervision. Okay, that's another use case for VoiceBot. And finally, things that people are not always thinking about, it's about outbound calls. I assume in Germany and all countries, you are annoyed quite a lot of time by marketing people trying to upsell services by calling you on your mobile and so on. But it's not the only case. For example, appointment scheduling, confirmation of appointment for medical appointments, or stuff like that. So instead of providing a list of customers to be called to a contact center agent, you just automate with an orchestrator and send the list of people to be called to the bot. And finally, that is the voice bot that will call you. So when you will get the phone, hey, I'm the virtual assistant of this company. I'd like to confirm the appointment that you take with us. Could you confirm? And then you are moving on with the conversation. Does it make sense for the different use case? I see some people still awake, so that sounds good. Great. The question is, how do I give voice to my bot currently? Okay, and of course, there is a need for a perfect development for the bot frameworks that needs to be done correctly. But if you take a look about the ecosystem of bot framework today, Google Dialogflow Essential, Google Dialogflow 6, Microsoft Azure, Microsoft PVA, Cognigy, Rasa, Inventa, AI, whatever. A lot of players on the market. So we need to be sure to give voice that we provide open APIs that will typically connect to any type of bot framework. So we need to be sure that we can connect any type of voice engagement channel with any type of bot frameworks on the market. And by voice engagement channel, I mean, is the call coming from a service provider? Is the call coming from an enterprise communication platform such as Microsoft Teams, for example? Just imagine putting in place a voice bot interaction for a service desk internally where everyone in the company is using Microsoft Teams. So you need to be sure you can connect from Teams to the bot. Okay. What about a different contact center? Avaya, Genesys, Cisco, Mitel, whatever. Are you sure if you are managing a multinational company like Vodafone, for example, that you have the same telephony system everywhere, that you have the same contact center everywhere? So we need to be sure that anytime we connect any type of voice engagement channel with any type of bot framework. And on the most accurate stuff, are you sure that the speech to text and text to speech to convert text to voice and voice to text is accurate in the same language and in each and every country? Or do you want to be sure that you will use the best of breed technology depending on your location? Okay, that you can work with custom model. So this integration could be very complex. And complexity is coming as well from the fact that having a text bot that work mainly with HTTP, HTTPS, transforming to the voice protocol. There is complex voice over IP protocol. You need to be sure that you have various protocols and codecs that are supported with voice, that you are managing all the voice quality issues. If there is some hashing in the voice of the customer. And you need, of course, to be sure that you guarantee the security and the privacy. So we are working with a lot of banks and financial institutions. Security, privacy, compliance is a real topic, a real issue for voice as well. Now, on top of the technology stuff, you have to understand that adjusting, and we were discussing a bit, the user experience for voice is completely the same as adjusting the voice, the text experience on a text base. And the fact is very simple, is that anytime you need to be able to escalate the call to a human agent, just like Beverly was mentioning, escalating to a human agent if the customer is not happy with it, we need to do it with the voice. We need to be sure that we manage what we call the crosstalk. So if the customer is talking at the same moment with the bot, what will happen? Or if the customer remains silent, what will we do? Okay, so we need to require integration with VoiceBot as well within the business process. And this is why I'd like briefly, very briefly, one slide, like to avoid all the marketing bullshit, but to really introduce why AudioCode. AudioCode is an Israeli company which is based in Tel Aviv. Okay, so it's listed on the Nasdaq with a valuation of about $2 billion US, and we are a voice specialist. So we are not a bot provider. We are not cognitive service provider. We are only focusing on voice. This is what we are doing. Since more than 28 years, amongst our customers, we have 66% of the top 100 companies and a lot, of course, of service providers. We are about 1,000 employees with a lot of technical people. You know, Israeli companies are usually a lot technical. And we are operating in more than 120 countries currently. So we can support you in all and every countries. Within the portfolio, it's very important to understand. So on an infrastructure layer, AudioCodes started with what we call the SBC. It's the Session Border Controller. So it's typically the box that helps you to be interoperable with any service provider towards the private networks on voice level, okay? Still on voice. We are also providing IP phones and meeting room system, like a lot of companies on the market. I will not say we are the best, but we have however good products. But we are providing, in fact, what we call the live solution. Live solution is that we are providing everything as a fully managed services. That means that from day one, if you have a complex infrastructure, we are starting with our project manager. We are starting by implementing the service, by integrating the components in your ecosystems, and by supporting and monitoring all the stuff. And then we are providing different levels of applications. Meeting insights, a virtual assistant, and an assistant within a Microsoft Teams. We are providing the VoiceAI Connect, which is the topic as of today. Voca for very basic IVR automation using bot, and SmartTap for recording. So what about the solution, and why did I introduce AudioCodes? It's just to tell you that and confirm once again that we are a voice specialist. So in order to solve this technical and this complexity issues, we are proposing a piece of software which is called VoiceAI Connect. This piece of software could be deployed in different flavors, okay? Could be within the data center, on a cloud platform, as shared, as mutualized, as a dedicated environment. And we have open API, where in fact we provide for each and every bot framework on the market a documentation that gives you the small piece of codes that you just need to cut and paste within the bot development in order to enhance all the telephony functionalities. Okay, so we are able to connect, as I mentioned, any type of voice engagement channel from contact center and any type of text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and other services like recordings, voice biometrics, voice authentication, language identification, and so on. Okay. The big advantage is, as I mentioned, we can use an best of breed and mix and match each and every one. If you are coming to what I call a monolithic platform, like, for example, working for Google, just as an example, I'm not against Google, but you will have to use the Google platform, the Google speech-to-text, and the Google text-to-speech. Okay, if you are doing with Microsoft, you will have to do the same, but it's not the best accuracy. We have even customers who are using speech-to-text and text-to-speech from different providers within the same conversation, depending on the topic, because Google typically could be very good speech-to-text and text-to-speech for geolocalization, but maybe that Microsoft is better, you know, for a plate recognition of a car. Such kind of example, or depending on the languages. So we can use mix and match. We interoperable with all the API, and we are adding a lot of functionalities, such as silent detection. Do you know that when we are implementing voice with a text bot solution, more than 50% of the total cost of the project is related to speech-to-text and text-to-speech cognitive services. This is what is the most expensive cost. Okay, that means that if we are able to detect silence with our solution, we are able to cut the connectivity to the speech-to-text platform. So we are able to spare you and cost savings for about 30% of the speech-to-text usage. We are able to store and to buffer the main prompts, for example, the welcome prompts onto our platform to reduce the usage of the text-to-speech. And we can use best-of-breed technology, as I mentioned. So how is it working? Very briefly. The customer wants to connect by voice, and typically the call will be routed to the contact center. Okay, I will give you a small demonstration with Genesis, for example, afterwards, where the call is coming, and then the call is routed to our VoiceAI Connect solution, which is working like a kind of gateway orchestrator with all this solution. So the bot will prompt at a text level is welcome stuff. And the welcome prompt will be sent to a text-to-speech and converted to a voice stream. And our appliance will just finally forward the voice stream to the customer. And when the customer will speak, we will do the other way. The customer will be sent, the voice of the customer will be sent to a speech-to-text. And of course, we will convert to a text utterance, and the bot will receive the text request. So finally, from a bot perspective, you can today or tomorrow, and I will show you how easy it is, convert any bot framework into a voice telephony bot in only a few clicks by using our platform. Sounds clear? Okay. So what are all the added functionalities that we are providing? Of course, it's all about the telephony action. So you need to be sure that the customer can interrupt the bot. So using what we call the bargain. You have the telephony notification. You need to be able within the same conversation to control the speech engine that you are using, which is the one the most accurate. And you need to integrate within the business context, the business flow of the contact center. So any backend integration from a bot perspective will remain the same. No difference for us. And of course, as I mentioned, available for any bot and using the best of breed technology. So how do we deploy? Sorry, I'm going further. Okay. How the solution could be deployed. So it's a piece of software. It could be installed everywhere. So we have one enterprise version where you can deploy it on a cloud environment as being your cloud, the cloud of the partner, the cloud of a service provider, wherever you want as shared or dedicated environment. Okay. But we have as well, and this is where I would like to deep dive a bit. We have a self-service portal today that I will show you where in just few clicks, and trust me, I'm not a sales guy trying to sell you any dream, but I will demonstrate it very easily. You can transform your text bot into a voice telephony bot in just few clicks. And this is the link where I would like to invite you to take a closer look after the webinars, of course. It's a mini website that is dedicated, VoiceAI Connect. .audiocode.com, where within the resource center, you will find all the API documentation depending on the bot that you want to use. Okay, so let me go about what's the usage of this platform. First of all, could be used as a test platform. So today you have a bot and you want to go to the voice bot, just connect on this link. You will have to sign in with your email address, name, and so on. So very easy to do. And in fact, what we'll be able to do, you will be able to configure your bot. Okay, this is what you see here. And in 1 second, you will be able to acquire a phone number provided by AudioCode. Could be from different countries. If you do not find your country in the list, just a call to us and we will provide you a phone number. And then you will be able, by calling this number, to call the bot, just using a smartphone. Okay. Then you have access to all the call history. You can add the call recording and you can take a look about the call transcript. As I think Mr. was mentioning about transferring the call to a contact center agent, it's important for us as well that we are able to transfer anytime the call to a contact center agent. If it's on request from the customer, we're saying, I'd like to speak with a human agent, or from the bot, if the bot is not enabled potentially to answer the question. And we need to be able to send all the transcript, all the metadata of the conversation on the desktop of the contact center agent so that he can see this is Patrice calling for a loan extension and he wants to pay 3 times. Okay, this test platform, of course, we can use it afterwards if you want to move forward as a production platform. No need to be very technical. If you have the IP addresses and some few technical information from your provider, you can easily connect your Genesis, your Cisco, your Avaya, your carrier service provider stuff, and you can make the connection with the SIP trunk and have exactly the same functionalities by selecting the speech to text and the text to speech that you want. Make sense? So before going to the demonstration and showing this, because I see that I'm talking already a lot, just a few words about the Global TOBi platform, such as Beverly mentioned. So we've started implementing our technology together with Vodafone for the voice bot first in South Africa. Okay, Beverly, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically in first instance, the accuracy with the standard speech to text and text to speech due to different accent in South Africa was less than 40%, if I remember correctly. And the ability of our system is that you can connect to any speech to text and text to speech, even some custom model. So if you have some local provider, if you are working in Lithuania, Estonia, where you do not find your language for speech to text and text to speech with the main provider, but you know a company, a university who is developing its own speech to text and text to speech, we just provide the API to this guy, and in less than 2 days, they can integrate their local speech to text and text to speech with us, which is quite amazing. And by working in South Africa with a custom model, we've been able to go up to more than 80% accuracy of the voice recognition. Okay. Now, of course, the Global TOBi platform Vodafone as being a large group as well. We are deploying in Greece, we are deploying in Germany, we are deploying currently, there is a project ongoing in UK, so very happy to deploy as well in UK. But you are, as a big company, you are never sure, depending on the company, of course, that you have the same telephony system or the same unified contact center platform in each and every country. So we need to be sure to build a connector that whatever the contact center that you are using, if you want to change your mind in 3 years to go from Genesis to Mitel, whatever, this piece of connection will remain in your architecture. Okay, let me go. So I need to do something I'm not used to share my other screen. I think this is this one. Great, Yana, you confirm? Wow, I was good today. So let's go very briefly into this interface because I showed you something very easy. I'd like to show it to you. So by going into this website, you can sign up. I will sign in with the account of my colleague. Very easy. That's the demo effect, so I will show you. This is the interface, very easy. So if you want to test it, you go onto this platform and you click on the plus button to add your bot. And here, as you can see, you just have to click on the bot framework that you are using. If you do not find yours, you just tell us and we will add it, okay? So for example, if I click on Microsoft Power Virtual Agent, I have to minimize this here, okay, and I click on next. You will just have to fill in finally the name and the secret key that has been generated by the bot, okay, coming from the bot frameworks. Afterwards, if you are going into the details, I will go to one that is configured already so that you will see. If you are going to the bot settings, for example, just have to define the speech to text and the text to speech that you want to use. So if you want to use the one from Google, from Microsoft, from Amazon, any other one that you want to configure. And if you are going to features, you just need to enable the functionality that you want to use. So do you want to test it with the call transcript? Do you want to test it with outbound? Do you want to test it with call recording? Do you want to enable the call transfer, the speaker verification? Typically, we are working with Phonexia currently on this platform. So you enable this, and when it's done, you have defined your bot. And afterward, for test, you go to number, you click on the add button, and you select the number and the country for which you want to receive a phone number. And the phone number will be associated to your bot. So as soon as it's done, you just have, in fact, to call the number, and I need to take my mobile there. I hope I will not do any larceny. Okay. So you will have just, to call the bot, and you will be able to discuss with your bot and transform your text bot into a voice bot. Now, if you want to go a step further, you are going to SIP connection if you are moving to production. And there you define the SIP connectivity that you want. So if I click on plus button, I just need to define, do I want to connect a SIP trunk? Do I want to connect a UC platform, a contact center? If I select for contact center, for example, which contact center do I want to add? Is it a Genesis one? Is it a UCX? Is it a Mitel? Whatever. You just click on the button. So to go to one which is configured, because to be honest, I'm not a deep technical guy. Let's go for this Genesis Cloud. So it could work with Genesis Engage on premise, Genesis Cloud, whatever. You click on the edit part here. And you just define, in fact, the parameters of your SIP trunk, of the SIP connectivity. Okay, for outgoing, for advanced, all the parameters are clearly defined. No need to be a very high technical guys to configure it. So when you have configured your SIP connection, just define the routing rules. What do you want to do with your call? So for example, here, I will just briefly show you a demo where I will use this number and I will have the call routed to Genesis Cloud. Then I will, for example, be able from Genesis Cloud to transfer the call to the bot, and from the bot to transfer the call back to the contact center. Okay. So as you have seen, you can add your bot, get a number from AudioCode, configure your SIP trunk, define your routing rules, and you are able to transform any text bot into a voice telephony bot. So let me go back to my presentation very briefly. This is what I'd like to demonstrate. Okay, and afterwards, if there is question, very open to ask about it. So I'd like to simulate, as I've seen, I need to share this screen, sorry. Okay, let me go back. This is what I'd like to show you. So I will take my phone, I will call using this SaaS platform, the Genesys Cloud, and I will be routed to a legacy DTMF IVR. Press on 1, press on 2, and so on. You will already experience the cold voice that I mentioned before. Okay, it's an old system. And afterwards, my code will be sent because I will request to talk to the bot, and we'll be able to talk and discuss with the bot. And afterwards, from the bot, I will transfer the call back to the Genesys Cloud infrastructure, okay, and be in connection with a contact center agent. Very important topic is that anytime we are sending the transcript and the metadata of the conversation to the contact center agent. Anytime if the call is first routed to the contact center will provide what we call a unique ID. This ID will remain end-to-end, even if it's going to the bot for the global reporting purposes in the contact center. For the contact center, they can have in the reporting that so many calls were routed to the bot, so many calls were ended up to end by the bot, or so many calls were forwarded back to the contact center agents. Okay. So that's the big moment where hopefully it works or it doesn't work.
Welcome to Genesys IVR. Press 1 to speak with a human agent or 0 to be immediately served by a bot.
Okay, I will push on 0.
Transferring to bot. Goodbye.
Welcome to Lifetime Insurance. How can I help you today?
I would like to track my bill, please.
Okay. Please say your name.
John Smith.
Thank you, John Smith. Please wait while I forward your call to a human agent.
And then the call will be forwarded. It's quite difficult to show it on screen, but let me share. Okay, let me share it here.
Welcome to the voicemail box of Yoav Lecter. Please record your message.
Okay, very difficult to manipulate all the windows, but I was effectively here on the Genesys agent desktop to show that the call was effectively transferred. If I'm just getting back just to show you to the platform very briefly, it's important to understand that when the call is set, so let me put it back here. You see my screen. You can go to call history. And within the call history, you can have access, of course, to everything that had happened. And if you are selecting, for example, one sentence here, one action, so let me check this one, going by action, you can play the call recording back. You can download the call transcript. Okay, so I will click again here to show you the simple call transcript. Wow. Okay, and I'm opening the file. You will see that, of course, you do not see it. It's working better from home when I'm alone in my office, you know. You can have all the call transcripts from the conversation that can be used for any backend systems that you want to do and to proceed. So you see the welcome to Lifetime Insurance. How can I help you today? I would like to track my bill from the customers. And you can do whatever you want with the data from this transcript file. Okay. Share it again. Okay. Conclusion and takeaways. Just to resume, because I'm used to talk a lot and I'm the only firewall between you and the coffee break, so I don't want to bother you anymore. Voice is communication king. I think it's important. When you talk about the voicebot, please get rid of the the idea that it's only for replace legacy IVR or digital assistants or virtual assistants. It's something more. So there is a lot of requests from banks and financial institutions to implement the agent assistance, for example. This is something very required. Outbound is also a solution. So as I mentioned, AudioCodes is proposing the fully managed services. We are a voice solution. That means that we are managing from day one the implementation. So no need to acquire 3 equivalent full-time to discuss technical issues about how to implement with Genesis. We have our professional services that are managing every step to connect to your text bot, in fact, to the telephony bot. We have a solution that allows the usage of best of breed, and we have some calculators where I would be glad to share with you where we can justify the cost savings, the ROI, or implementing. And usually with voice, customers are automating about 30 to 35% of the entire contact center calls. That's the situation as of today. We have banks that, as I've Beverly mentioned, looking to automate up to 90%, so 90% of their call. Of course, I think that it's important to stay with I would say the foot on the floor. Voice is not the same as text, so we need to start with some basic, I will say, functionalities, things that could be easily automated, and move forward at strategic level about what are the topics you want to automate for voice as well. So it's a complete journey that is not working in few months. It will take more time. And I'd just like also to tell you that we are in what I'd like to call the intelligent contact center transformation. Contact center today have always been seen by companies as being a center of cost. Okay, that's very critical. So the first implementation and decision for the contact center and the company is to reduce the cost. But by reducing the cost and offloading the contact center agent, you can rework the task of the contact center, maybe to upsell new services to VIP customers. So transformation of the contact center from a center of cost to potentially becoming a center of revenue. This is really the new trend for a lot of companies. And finally, write it, check it, go on our website. If you have any text bot and you want to make a try, very easily, you can click on this link, sign in, and as I see, get a number from AudioCodes and transform your text bot into a voice telephony bot. Am I in time? That's great. Thanks a lot.
All right, it's time for questions. Do we have any questions for Patrice? I see one over here.
So you talk about outbound calls.
Sorry?
Outbound calls.
Yes.
How do you deal with trust? Because we wanted to try voicebot calling back customer to confirm an appointment, and people were thought that it was a fraud or spam, so they just hanged up. So how do you have any examples or?
Yeah, we have an example, for example, with a large automotive brand. Okay, I cannot disclose the name because they haven't signed the necessary document, where when there is a recall for vehicles for technical issues, for example. So they are calling directly the customer by saying, hey, I'm the virtual assistant of Mercedes, sorry, of Daimler, of Audi, whatever, and I'd like to set an appointment with you because we had a problem with your vehicles. So the idea is that we have a customer in France, for example, who is calling, with managing appointments for specific medical appointments, echography and so on, who are 1 week before calling back their customer in order to confirm the appointment, because there is quite few appointments in the medical sectors. So they are confirming with customers. Of course, I'd like to be very fair for marketing purposes. Personally, when I'm getting a call by, hey, I'd like to talk, I'm hanging up. Okay, so I think that it's important, if you are using this for outbound purposes, that at a strategic level, it's managed to be sure that within the 2 to 3 seconds, you clarify the scope of your call, or if it's a voice bot automation, people are hanging up.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a human like everyone, and I get buried, with all these marketing calls as well. But for specific tasks, I mentioned like confirming an appointment and so on. These are stuff that are clearly working today.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Nice
morning.
presentation. I'm also curious about this trust issue, especially after the Vodafone presentation, where we saw where the self-interest is in the equation. I mean, you said that 85% of people prefer voice, but isn't that because voice assumes or induces that I'm speaking to a human? I mean, if we are using a chatbot solution in app, in a browser, I know that I will have to pass to or through an agent. That's not the case or always the case in a call. How do you build that trust? And also, can you share some KPIs of how many people just ask or start asking, I want to speak to an agent, instead of trying to explain the real inquiry during the call?
Yeah, I need to be very first. So AudioCodes is proposing, the connector for voice and bots. So we are not developing the bot. We are not a bot developer, not a bot provider. Based on the experience that we have, implementing a voice bot is a step far away after building a correct strategic text bot. Okay. Usually we have some basic topics for text bots, and depending on the complexity, for example, Toby is a very complex one that is going very, very large, I would say, in the scope. If you have a very basic text bot, it makes quite no sense to implement a voice bot behind, because as you mentioned, people are willing to talk to an agent, a physical agent, I would say. What we have here as implementation is that we are starting the journey for voice bot with small business case, very small topics. And then the customer is improving his chatbot strategy in order to fit with the voice bot connectivity. Okay, because usually the goal is to avoid being stuck in a queue for 20 minutes. When you are calling a contact center agent, okay, a contact center, you are usually waiting. If there are 10 agents managing 200 calls simultaneously, you will have to wait for 10 to 15 minutes. So the idea is, first of all, to improve the customer journey by having a conversation. So you are winning with the customer the time spent normally in a queue by remaining silent. But there is few topics, however, and about the KPIs, it depends really about the sectors. But typically 30 to 35% of the calls could be fully automated by the bots. That's typically what we see today as being a trend. Of course, you have to think about further about what you can do with the bot. So you can have, for example, a customer calling a contact center agent, engaging a voice, because customer is effectively willing to talk with an agent. But at a stage, there is the need to onboard the customer in the database, or to proceed to a payment by credit card. So typically at any time, the agent as well can decide to forward back the call to the bot to automate this process and free a part of his time in order to manage another call that is waiting in the queue. So it depends really, I would say, on the experience, on what you want to do. We have experience with IT service desk. You know that 60% of the call in IT service desk is after the holidays, people that have lost their password because they have the ad still in holidays and some stuff like that. You can fully automate this kind of request. So instead of talking to an agent, you can have a bot that is saying, hey, I will support you with this. Can you provide your name, authentify me, send an SMS back? So it's part of the omni-channel communication. So for IT service desk, for example, we're about to automate a bit like between 60 to 80% of the call, because it's strictly recurring and it's the same process. And behind there is the chatbot and the process that has been clearly identified, clearly set. So as we mentioned, it's part of a journey and defining infrastructure. We have an insurance company that is automated for assistance on the road, and they are able to automate more than 80% of their call for flat tire and battery issues while assisting on the road. So 80% of the call, it's amazing. But they've started to work on some specific business case, flat tire, assistance on the road, that's all. And then based on the success, they are improving and getting to new business case that they can put for the bot.
All right, thank you, Patrice. We still have a question left in the chat, but can you please reply on that?
Sure. Faster.
All right, let's all give Patrice a big round of applause.
Thank you.